Right. Firstly, I'd like to pay my respect to Michael Jackson, and my thoughts and condolences go out to his family for who was the most greatest iconic entertainer the planet has ever seen. So my thoughts go out to Michael. It's the first time I've spoken since that time, so I think it's the appropriate thing to do. So R.I.P. Michael. Right. Continuing from where I was before on the theme of unity, I'm hoping to move it on a little bit to hopefully make it clear as to why I'm talking about unity and then the essential and fundamentals of it. Not just unity for the sake of it, but why it's necessary. And that is, for example, it doesn't matter how much we talk about black power in this day and age, or black pride, um, self-determination, independence, etc. Without unity, it's not really going to work. You know, as anyone will know who studied some of our greats, some of our great heroes and icons, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, etc. Garvey, Marcus Garvey, yeah, will know that their emphasis was on unity, unity of purpose, getting things together, bringing together cohesion. So individually, if we're splintered, we're here, we're there, we're everywhere, and we continue to talk about doing things for self, it's not really going to work. If you use the language of doing things for self, but our actions show selfishness, it's not going to work. Doesn't matter how much pride we contain within ourselves as an individual, even as a group, as a small group, collectively. I always say, for example, just for example, in order for it to be a real push, you know, so that globally, you know, we can make a difference. Globally, we can make a difference. There would, for example, need to be a good 80% of us that come together into a coherent whole and agree, as opposed to the 20% that may not agree, that we need to do things independently for ourselves. Never should there be an end for everybody. That doesn't happen in any group or any sphere where everybody agrees about everything. That's totally unrealistic. What we need to do is, say for example, get a good 80%, 85%, 90%, and then we can really get things going. So it doesn't matter how much, my emphasis, the point I'm trying to make clear, it doesn't matter how much we talk about black pride, black power, how much we contain these in our individually, or even in small groups. If it doesn't spill over into a more collective whole, it will be all talk. So that's the reason why unity and unity of purpose is important. Because sometimes we talk, you know, we use this language, we talk this language, but the actions are very selfish to me. The actions are what I can get out of it for me. Incidentally, I always find it interesting that there are too many people getting paid for what is called black liberation or the struggle for liberation. Too many people getting paid, too many people getting a salary, so sometimes the focus gets, you know, here, there, and everywhere, because you know, money will always influence. We know that who holds the purse strings will always ultimately controlling the whole unit. And sometimes, because there's money involved, sometimes our focus comes off of what needs to be said, because language is important. The things that need to be said and the things that don't need to be said. And if the things that need to be said are not being said, and the things that don't need to be said are being said, we're going to be in one big mess. So, black power, self-determination, independence only works, is only real, only goes beyond talk and turns into action when we do it collectively. When there's a collective whole, when it's cohesive, when we're together, and we all not be the same person, but work with our differences, learn to solve our own problems, and to stop continuing to ask, to seek, and to beg of others to do for us what we really should be doing for ourselves. So unity and unity of purpose only goes hand in hand when we can get our own things together. Right. So, and the ways we can do that is by starting with small groups. Previously, I'd spoken about the problems with people fighting over leadership, ego trips, power trips, personality trips, etc. Now, some of the questions one would have to ask himself if you feel you're being called to be a leader is, am I committed to the cause? Would you put your time, effort, and energy into what it takes? Sometimes long days, long nights, sometimes when you're beefing over the next person who's a leader, who you think shouldn't be a leader, or who may be seen as a leader, who you think shouldn't be a leader, and maybe you think you should take their place or they should be replaced with yourself. Some questions that you need to ask yourself is, am I committed to the cause? Am I committed to the cause without money, without qualm, without squibbling, sometimes without, thanks. It's a thankless task sometimes to work for your community. Every time, you hear people getting awarded for charities, sometimes things come out about them that you hadn't previously known. You know, the long hours and time and energy that they put into it. It's a thankless task. Sometimes you're there on your own, sometimes you're not recognized. So the question you've got to ask yourself is, am I prepared to go that extra mile? You know, am I prepared to do this at all costs? Am I prepared to do it with the criticisms? If you're not prepared to do that, put the time and energy into it, you need to seriously reconsider whether or not you should be in a certain position or you should be a leader as you may see yourself to be. But however, you know, what we need to get over is, as I said previously, we can all lead, and we should all lead because we all have skills and we all have different ways in which we can contribute. It's only when it comes together. Incidentally, any unit is never always only dependent on the leader. You know, the leader is only the one that ultimately stirs the wheel as he delegates responsibilities for others. It's only as that works together. If the leader is left on his own, nothing's going on. If there's not people he can fall back on, he can rely on when he's sick, when he's not able, whatever, or using other people's skills, it will be nothing. So the unity and unity of purpose has got to mean something as it's played out. It's got to mean what we do on a daily basis. It's got to mean how we work with each other, how we come together to solve common problems and solve goals, cooperate together and solve problems and issues and subject matters for ourselves. That's just some of the aspects of what it means to have unity and unity of purpose. While we still maintain our individuality, there needs to be that unity and unity of purpose for the collective whole and for the collective good.